Testing. Hi, I'm Carl from Tarrion Rail, and welcome to the first edition of KARL'S Train. Hi, welcome to the first edition of KARL'S Trains. I'm Carl from Tarrion Rail, and this is our 1200 class rail car. We're the team who put 620 class 631 731, the former ML70 inspection vehicle, back on into service, and we're hoping to repeat the same feat with this lovely carriage from the 1970s. It's going to be a lot of work, but we have the team, the skills and the expertise to do so. The history of these carriages, I'll go into a full one later on, but just one for now. Contract for these was first let in 1968, and the railways received their first one was delivered, which was actually this carriage, in 1970. And they had sufficient carriages by early 1972 to start the Riverina Express. There were 12 of these carriages built. 10 were built for New South Wales Railways, and then 2 were built for the Victorian Railways, known as the DRC class. Here in New South Wales, they were known as the 1200 class. This one was the first one actually built, the first one in service. The Victorian Railways went to purchase 2 more from the New South Wales Railways in 1974. Now, these have a very checkered history, these vehicles. They were regarded as extraordinarily unreliable, and I won't go into this video of exactly the reason why, but we do know, and we've studied it quite extensively. We have all the engineering paperwork and documentation, and it's fairly obvious what the actual drawbacks to these vehicles were. Of course, there's going to be some challenges on the way. It's a very interesting engineering project, but fortunately, we have I think we have the engineering now, so we have the knowledge and we have the people we can call on to actually make this work. So, the usual thing: click like and subscribe. Or any money we actually do earn from this channel is going to go straight back into the restoration of this vehicle, because it's not going to be cheap, but it's worthwhile. It's an interesting part of the history of New South Wales, and will certainly be a great addition to the heritage train fleet. Tour through the carriage. Let's have a look at it here. So what have we got? This is the number one end of the vehicle, as you can see, the men's and the ladies. We're going to flick around here. Taking a look out the front here, you may notice that these carriages had the ability to walk through between them, especially important that there's only one buffet car per train. Let's have a look in here in the number one end driver's cab. That's a new window we recently got made and have temporarily installed. As you can see, these cabs were fairly heavily stripped when they were converted into loco haul service, but we're slowly assembling the parts to reassemble the cabs. And back here, this was the air conditioning control panel. A lot of this was stripped and gutted when it was vandalised some years ago. I'll throw some photos up of that so you see what we were dealing with to start with, but we don't need most of that. Come along here, we have we've opened all the hatches to get access to the exhaust, and here we have a bit of a bonus where we ended up with some engine gauges that we weren't there. We opened up a panel and all the engine gauges were still in place. Bit of a surprise, really. Not unhappy about that one. We're walking through here. This is the first class section. We will throw some photos up of what the first class looked like in its heyday. It was actually quite nice for the time. Oh, you may notice the luggage racks are missing. We're getting those remolded so we can get them reinstalled. Walking up through down here to the number 2 end, we've moved the electrical cabinet into the guards compartment, as you can see there. That actually frees up a lot of space in the cab, and when you come into the cab now, you'll see on the left hand side where the electrical cabinet was originally. Again, another new window. As you can see, this cab's a little bit more complete. We've installed the missing gauges, and we've got to install a set of controls, which we have, and yeah, then we'll have to wire them up. Again, another connecting door, same as the other end. Quite nice to be able to walk through the whole set from front to back. Now let's walk down and have a look underneath it, shall we? Oops, there we go. Let's see what we got underneath. As you can see, there's actually not a lot left down here. So the bit of the story is, of course, that the railways actually removed the motors out of these carriages back in the early 80s. This one in particular ran in March 1983. When it was actually the lead car in the Erskineville derailment. I'll post a link below. You can get a video of it. And that was the last time this carriage ran in self-propelled service. The railways then actually took out all the motors and transmissions and everything else and converted them into loco haul carriages, where it ran for about another 10 years. You can see the actual window out of this end is missing. Fortunately, we have a spare, including the frame, and that was actually the window that was affected in the Erskineville derailment. Actually, this side hasn't been hit with graffiti. In fact, we had all the graffiti off both sides, and then someone came back and graffitied it again. But anyway, one of those things. As you can see, we still have a window there we need to replace. Hoping over the next few years to bring you along on the journey of how we actually get this carriage up and running. We're the team responsible.